Hey, what's up, everybody? Metta World Peace here. It's good to see everybody. Good to be here. Metta World Peace, follow me everywhere. I'm just starting to get back on socials and doing different things in media and content. Y'all been seeing me a little bit. I've been staying away a little bit, honestly, because I just wanted to figure this game out. Being the first new media kind of curiosity, meaning 2008. I interviewed Kobe. My suggestion, and one of my friends at the time, kind of pushed it through, and I wanted to do a whole series of that, and we did it at Fox. But when I brought it to them, they was like, "Nah, we don't really see it as being interesting." But look what they did, Oh my goodness, almost 20 years later. Like 16, 15 years later. Even before that, they've been doing podcasts. They've been doing athlete interview. This is 2008. And I think 2012, 2014, looking metaphorically speaking. And that was very similar to a lot of podcasts that you see. But the issue was when I was being creative, obviously I did music. I'll take you through it. And I'm going to get off of entertainment in like 2-3 minutes because I want to talk more about like social politics. But as I was doing the entertainment, I was just doing it because I would see things. I was young, I was outside, and I would just say, "Oh, let's do this," but not necessarily seeing the future. So sometimes you can be first and finish last, right? You could be first to a concept, to an idea, somebody else take it to the next level, and that's something that it could be fruitful for you and your family and your culture if you could take your own concepts to the next level. Because as you can see, this podcast game is generating so much revenue. So I'm gonna give a pat on my back for being one of the first people in new media, probably the first, arguably, as an active player. When I did music, I often didn't finish the music, and I was not first there. I was actually like 10th or even 15th because there's a lot of athletes. Shaq obviously was the best. I think he still is the best, artist, just being non-biased. I think he's the best athlete artist, incredible lyricist. Then you had other people like even, Jay Kidd and Cedric Ceballos. They didn't put out the volume of work, but I think they got a lot of songs. J.R. Writer, and obviously people like Raymond Tisdale, super polished, playing actual instruments. A lot of people, a lot of athletes, you'll be really surprised that they got some hits. And I wish I would have put more time into each song, like really finishing it, because my best records were the ones that I wasn't trying to put out as singles. The ones I was trying to put out as singles, people was like, "That's not my story," but I was just following the trends and having fun. I did comedy, I did stand-up comedy. I went on a comedy tour. I did a lot of things to entertainment. I love entertainment, but at some point in time, it gets a little bit, you adapt to a stream that they created for you. They being people who are scaling entertainment based off of the audiences that the culture is bringing, whether you're Italian, from Gaza, whether you Puerto Rican, whether you African, whether you black, whether you Jewish, whether you just the culture, it's more of the era, Gen Z, right, or a baby boomer, right? It don't matter, but a talented artist, white female, black female, it don't matter. They take that and they put it through this, incredible scalable systems. And sometimes you just don't understand that it's a big time game. And if you're a young kid, things like that. But when you look at what TDE is doing, their artist is very similar to Nas, just lyricists catering to their fans, and that's what you do in life, and I think it's incredible. So from my perspective, many things I love to do about entertainment that I love, but I also love social politics. People was asking me, something happened, obviously, we know, on October 7th. There were some hostages taken. Then a lot of people were very aware of the issues that Palestine, Gaza, West Bank. They're aware of the issues that they had with Israel. And one of the things people got to understand is, when you're doing your own thing in Los Angeles and Monte Carlo, not everyone is paying attention to issues that another human being is going through, right? And it don't matter. So, and I was telling people, you really can't fault someone, especially an entertainer who's coming out with no bias and just wanting to lend a voice to try to bring people together. That's not a bad thing. You might be uneducated about the situation. And that goes to show you how people look down on people because somebody's uneducated about a situation. You look down on them. You got to put them down. You got to not only correct, but tell them how wrong they are. And you don't know what knowledge that person has. What you got to dig into is the heart. And for me, I don't care if it's a rich kid or a poor kid. When I see people harmed, hurting, can use a lending hand, I'll extend to anybody, and then I'll go on about my life, right? And that's what I think people need to understand now. Yeah, there's definitely serious things happening, in Sudan. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. In Gaza, right? In all these different areas, that we have to address, right? We have to address it in a way where people are happy. People here in America, people in the South, black people in the South, white people in the South, there's probably more wealthy white people than black people in America and in the world, but it doesn't mean that if we see somebody on the street, that's white, that's suffering, it doesn't mean we go and just walk by them because, a group of people is doing well from a currency perspective. There's all types of currency. It's currency that gets people to move, to make money, to build materialistic things for their family in the future under structure, insurance, tax, different things like that. There's also mentally wealthy currency, just happiness. There's so many people that's happy, that's doing their thing, in this world. But obviously, I think the currency dominates the world, right? So you got to make money for yourself. But I'm saying that because, sometimes I go a little bit in a tangent. I try to stay as narrow focused as possible, but it don't matter who it is, right? And, so when I was one of the first, I think I was the first athlete, or with a celebrity to speak on what happened October 7th, on October 8th. And then I got a lot of emails, and not emails, but I got a lot of comments. So I'm reading the comments, and as I'm reading the comments, I'm reading the comments, not all of them, but some of them. And I'm saying, okay, let me do some research real quick because somebody said something that assumed that I don't care about another person. In this situation, it was Palestinians. Not everybody recognized Palestine as a state. There's more countries in the world that do recognize Palestine as a state. Gaza, West Bank. So, I think y'all got it wrong. I was also one of the first people, not one of the first, but I was early in going to Saudi. When I went to Saudi Arabia, not everybody, but some people were saying, why would you go there when they just had an issue? Well, I'm not studying every issue. I want to travel the world. I want to meet people. I've been to a Muslim country for the first time. I think it was 4 years ago. I've never been to the Middle East. I always wanted to go to the Middle East. I've never been up until 4 years ago, and I want to go back, and I want to visit other places. But then when you get home, and you get home from China, you get home from these places, if you're not studying world history, or if you're not in the news every day, if you're not a politician, some things is not on your mind. It's not that you're not empathetic or sympathetic, for people that are struggling. I mean, look at my situation. I've been one of the leaders in mental health. So ironic, right? Somebody that has such an up and down career in basketball is one of the leaders in mental health and just hoping and helping people, become better by just pushing out a message. And it puts so much pressure on people, positive pressure, where they had to implement it. They had to implement it because if not, I would have been leader in the game. If it wasn't implemented, I would have been leader in the game. And I'm still recognized as a leader, but now there's other things that's happening in abundance, quality and abundance, right? That's kind of diluting what I brought to the game, right? And that's just like having a heart. Anybody can have a heart, right? And then just because, and now you look at the situation. So when I came out October 7th, I was like, oh wow, I saw some images online, and I was curious. I knew nothing. I just saw images. Then I started to learn. Oh, this happened here. Oh, this group of people did it. And I don't really take media's word ever. I like to learn for myself. So as I'm looking, I'm like, wow, this is pretty sad. Then I learned about the story. And I'm like, okay, it's two sides to the story, but the two sides are not speaking. So now I got to take my time and do more research. But guess what? At some point in time, you're going to go back about your own life and your own way of living. In this situation, I'm still learning. And now you come now and you see the news and you see the images in reverse in way more abundance than what's happening in Gaza. And now you got two more stories. Oh, this is happening over here. This is happening over here, right? So now, yeah, we have to do something about the food situation, right? And other situations. And one of the things people got to realize, some of us was born in 1979. There's a lot of things that happened in 1948. We were not here at that point in time, right? And some things has a lineage, right, of law, right? A lineage, of that passage. And so, some things was here before us, but we're here as humans. We're here to make this world a better place, not a worse place. We're trying to leave this world a better place for our future, not just your future, And that's what I think people don't understand when it comes to, from my stance is, that's why I'm so down the middle, because I'm trying to hear all perspectives. It's not that I'm kissing one's group's tail end, or it's not that I'm dismissing another group. It's that I want information, right? And I think people got to give people a chance to get information. Now, yes, this is dire need, so we need to get information and help at the same time. This is so important right now, right? And in this situation, there's a situation in Sudan where there's a famine or famine going. I don't know if I pronounced that right. A situation in Israel where there's hostages, still some hostages. I don't know how many, but there's a situation there. There's a situation in Gaza with food insecurities. There's a lot of athletes in America that's focused on food insecurities. There's situations even home with African Americans or Africans from America where we're still trying to find our way. Literally still trying to find our way. Right, there's situations in other countries. There was an issue with India versus Pakistan. There's so many things around the world, and not everything is of importance to everyone. And when you comment on these people that have comments, they might be in the middle. I'm speaking specifically for people that's in the middle that want to see happiness and want to see this end and want to see people get on their feet, right? When you look at the amount of people that's given their time to go on their Instagram and go on their Twitter and their YouTube, rather than bash them, you need to educate them. Now, yeah, if you're going for one particular side, I'm going to leave that up to y'all because I'm giving my perspective. I'm going to leave that up to y'all to talk about that. But when you got somebody coming in and wanting to see people do well and wanting to help and lend their voice, think about it. How many people are lending their voice? Do the math. What are the stats? It's not everyone. So there's two things to unpack there. One, why not talk to the people who are not commenting? And why don't you have issue with them? Why do you have only issue with people that are commenting? Because you see us, right? Because like, oh wow, this person commented, I don't like it. But in reverse, it's like, oh wow, this event happened on TV, I don't like it. Oh wow, another event happened on TV, I don't like that. And you can instigate, you can fight against one side, but no matter what anyone did, events still took place. Events still has taken place where there is now a large number of people that are very hungry, to the point where, they're just trying to get food. There are still a number of people on the other side that are waiting for some people to come back home. And for people to lend their voice, just because we lend a voice, it doesn't mean we have any say-so if I wanted to fly anywhere right now in the region, I can't just fly and make a difference. Fly, land, touchdown. Hey, this is me. I want to make a difference. So we got to take all that in consideration and do, understand who's commenting, understand, who's trying, especially, when you're on the other side. And some people that just have, that already has a preset opinion on someone that gives an opinion or preset statements that they're going to make. We can't change their minds anyway. Some is powerful, some is not. But you can't change their minds anyway. What you could do is stay focused. My goal here is to see people eat healthy. My goal here is also to see people not try to just, harm people because of who they are. Now, keep in mind, we wasn't here, I wasn't here, when back when everything started with the Holocaust. I wasn't even here back when everything started during slavery. We're here now. We're reading history, and we got to keep this history because I would not have known anything if I didn't read the books. Because a lot of and also keep in mind, we're trying to get on our feet. As you could call us African Americans or Black, but at the end of the day, we were ethnically cleansed. Art gone, burned, stuff that we had, stuff that we worked on for years, thousands and thousands of years ago when we were here as a lineage. When we were thriving, the language gone, art gone. Now some people still have some art. We've seen things pop up over the years. We've seen different images, different sculptures, different things. So you got to understand, we're also, with all that pressure and all of that adversity that we've gone through, we still try to lend our voice. That's the cool thing that's one thing I do love about being Black. That it's not a lot of racist Black people. There might be some people that's very outspoken, but we don't wake up thinking about, okay, like how are we going to just take care of our own now? Yeah, we have to sometimes, because when you look at the situation, it was really bad. It was bad. Like, if people would not have a lot of ethnicities. I want to give a shout out to all the ethnicities out there that kept us in mind, because y'all was fighting. But we would have just been, we don't know anything. People was calling us dumb jocks because because some of us collectively couldn't read, but we didn't have no books. Sometimes we had to fight to get books to read, because our other books and our other language is gone. So what else? What are we going to read? What are we going to learn? The language is gone. Plus, there's a huge amount of Black men in prisons. So then the father figures are gone. So to call that person a dumb jock, it should be the opposite. It should be, hey, we're going to help you. Not like, we're going to kick you down. So a lot of similarities with the experience that Gaza has gone through, but we just don't know, right? So from that perspective, with all that interpretation, it's still about, okay, how can we make people happy? With all that interpretation, right? And I know a lot of Black people who are just trying to go on with their day, and they're like, man, I wish you would knock it off. Now, internally, we got our own issue internally, because we grew to hate each other due to the lineage of the history and what we've been through. So you see a lot of Black on Black crime and different things like that, or just differences and not working together, because of how we were brought up through a system, literally through a system, and the system wasn't pretty, as we can see on TV. When the dog was biting, Black people's legs and different things like that, and different things like that. But now you can see people are really smart. You can see, all right, now we got this down pat. The language, the strategy, being open. Not just me, but so many people. And hopefully it can stay that way. When there's conflict, we do have a vested interest in peace. Because every time Blacks are thriving, something goes wrong that we can't control. And, we do have, no matter where it's at, we have a vested interest that people get along. just so we can keep our thing going. We in a rhythm. People's traveling the world. When they go to Asia, Europe, Madagascar, Iceland, black people that never had a chance. You know, in the books, the more educated you are, the more likely you are to stay out of prison. And we're trying to keep that going so then we can, maybe we want to live in Europe. Years ago, imagine your uncle, or like from our perspective, like a black uncle. Not to say other ethnicities didn't have issues, but I'm just speaking from this particular experience, our experience. Nobody had a concept of moving to Africa or moving to Bali for a year or moving to Canada, even Canada. And you know, you get in trouble. There's so many people that got in trouble. You can't even go if you're a convicted felon. Well, what happens if when some people took the law in their own hands as a law representative and then put people in bad situations? Right? So now you can't even go to Canada. So I say all of this because everybody has their own things that they're going through. Some people are going through some really tough things. What, you know, I just continue to stack on things that I'm talking about. Sudan. You know, we could be from there. I wouldn't be surprised. Would not be surprised because there's great people. You know, some of the most rich, I mean, in terms of, you know, the most darkest, beautiful skin color in Sudan. If you look at the skin color, just super dark and just like chocolate and gold embedded in the skin is incredible. With a little bit of the blue from the horizon. Because sometimes you can see there's a little blue gliss that goes off the Sudanese skin. It's incredible. Just it looks black and blue. Oh my! And they're going through a lot. We can very well be from there. We can also be from Egypt. We could be from Israel. We could be from, you know, anywhere. So because we don't know, we have empathy for people. Okay, we want to see people happy, enjoy the fruits that this earth has for you, for us. You know, and I don't care how. Maybe it's not the right thing to you. Maybe it's not the right thing to say, but I don't care how wealthy somebody is, how much better somebody is, how powerful somebody is. You know, a child hurt is a child hurt. This is not justifying anything, by the way. I truly believe in this. I wouldn't say it if I didn't. A child hurt is a child hurt. You know, and if you see a child hurt and you don't got no sympathy for that child, and you're like, yes, that child should be hurt because that child is from Palestine, or that child should be hurt because that child is from Israel, or that child should be hurt because that child is from Gaza, or that child, it don't matter if that child is hurt because that child is from Brownsville, and you know, they go through those things. I had a lady tell me, and she looked in my face, and I looked at her and agreed with her, like, oh yeah, you're right, yes. I didn't say you're right, but I kind of looked at her like I didn't hear her, like I was just dumb. She said, and she probably knows she is, she said, you know, the Philippines are like the blacks. The Philippines are like the blacks. They got soul. Like, what? You know, and just, you know, you know, they're kind of the underdog, and they got soul. Like, nah, we all human, baby. We are all human. Ain't no, you know, if that's the case, then the Philippines are like Eminem, because he got soul. It's not about ethnicity and skin color. It's about empathy. That's what it's about. We're going to turn this thing around. We're going to turn this thing around. Empathy. And then the future is going to be like, wow, did people really like fight back in the 2000s? And people, I don't know. That's how the future is going to be. It's going to be like that. It really is. It's going to be like, wow, like somebody will be struggling on the street. How are you doing? Are you okay? Hold on. I can't make it because we have another. There's a human. He's crying right now. She's crying. So I'm gonna be late to dinner. And good luck with the business deal. Good luck with the meeting, and hope y'all close that deal. But I really got to stay here and take care of this human. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll still speak on your behalf, and you take care of that human, and we'll make sure you'll still be part of this deal because we're taking care of each other. Right? I think we got bigger goals. Bigger, not fish to fry, because I don't want to get too economically political here, but I mean from an ecosystem perspective, so I don't want to get too systematically political right here, but I just don't want to say we got bigger fish to fry. The same way I don't like saying let's kill two birds with one stone. Why would I kill two birds with one stone? I want to kill two birds with a stone. But I do want to say we got bigger goals. And like them or not, Elon's going in that direction. Now, not everybody agrees, but I think we got goals. We got so many things to explore here on Earth, so many different places to see, so many different historic places to visit, so much depth in the sea to explore, so much height on top of space, in space to explore. We are explorers. We are curiosity beings, and I think there's going to be one time where we get back to that, where we get to that. That's how it started. We don't really know, but that's how it started. So empathy for me is big. Lending my energy to hopefully people could do better is big. And that's even when we go through our own struggles, our own down times emotionally, spiritually. But you still find it in you. You still find it in you to be empathetic for someone else. And that's what's important. Some people say because I have an opinion, you're also pairing that with someone that created circumstances, bad circumstances. You can't, those are different things. My opinion has nothing to do with someone else's actions. Either way. Someone's actions has to do with their actions, and why did they act that way? Why did they act that way? Why did they react that way? Why didn't they react? Why did they do that? That's wrong, right? And that's their thing that they did, right? My opinion is my opinion. You can't group me in. I don't want to see nobody get hurt as much as that. And I grew up in a neighborhood where people was getting hurt, like really hurt. Talking about, not just tears and emotionally hurt, like physically hurt. So why would we want to see that? If we already been through it, especially coming from the biggest city in the world. Name one city that's on top of New York. You might catch one now, but it's not. We from New York City. And so we've seen a lot things we experienced there. There's a good chance that we got an understanding on what's going on in different areas around the world. So I say that because I will continue to be empathetic. I will continue to speak out for people and wish the best for people and bring people together. And I will continue to say, I hope people can heal. Some healing takes longer than others, and that is true. Some healing takes longer than others, and that's a fact that we recognize and are well aware of. but I do want to see people heal. I'm not going to wish for more of the same. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. It's a conflict of interest. Not, for many reasons, it's a conflict of interest. Just traveling alone. I mean, we want to travel to these different places where, there's a war zone. I want to say hi to the people, even if they don't want to say hi to us. There's so many beautiful places for the eyes to see, to absorb. There's many beautiful places for the eyes to see. And I think that's who we are. We can't explore places if, there's rules, regulations, war, conflict. That's a conflict of interest. Some people have conflict of interest from a business perspective, but why is your business conflict of interest more important than my emotional or spiritual or happiness conflict of interest? How is yours more important? There's a conflict of interest when people are at war. That means we can't explore. So we got to spend our whole time not being able to go to these different places that's sanctioned, because I'm leaving that piece up to the people, who are on both sides of that. But I'm just saying from an independent party goer and an independent thinker, we want to travel. We want to see the world. I mean, I think it's that simple, right? And it's hard to point the blame at everyone. And this is not talking about any particular instance. This is talking. I'm speaking in general, because it would be uneducated of me to really point this finger at someone. But there's two sides to many stories. I'm not going to say every story. There's two sides to many stories. You can't be naive. I'm not saying be stern. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you can't be naive. I'm not saying don't be empathetic. I'm not saying don't be sympathetic. I'm not saying don't have love. You got to have those things, and you can't be naive. And with not being naive, sometimes you got to address two different parties. Sometimes you got to address two different groups, because some things just not fair. Here you are, indifference, and the rest of us got to suffer for it. So my goal is to bring solutions, to continue to push out a solution energy kind of field, to push out a vulnerability field, just a field of vulnerability to people. And I know over the years, people, anybody watching this, I like to do what I do and go down my journey, but some people see me as, Metta and a softie. Somebody the other day said, "I just am." That's how I feel. I'm not trying to show people how hard I am anymore. It's over. We are who we are. We are. We here. We are here. We exist in the form that we're in, and we want to see people happy. We want to explore more. We want to experience different things. We're wishing the best for the future. We still have to be somewhat stern. We still got to be a little bit naive. We got to be. We don't want to be too naive. We want to be a little bit vulnerable. We want to be happy. You want to be all these things in this world. travel this world the same way. I mean, maybe it sounds a little bit selfish, but I want to see people travel. I want to see people heal. Yeah, maybe that's too kumbaya, but I don't think so. I think sometimes people hungry and they make a bad decision. And this is no pun intended on what's happening right now, but you could be in a relationship, you're hungry, you didn't eat, you get in an argument, you get divorced, all because you didn't eat. Or you're in the neighborhood, somebody say something to you, y'all start popping back and forth, and now you in prison, and all because you didn't eat. Forgot to put something in your belly in the morning, breakfast. Some people can't eat. You gotta take all these things into consideration. I'm wishing us the best. I'm wishing us the best. And I'm gonna holler back. Metta World Peace in the building. Podcast. Make sure y'all tune into my podcast, Test Your Greatness. It's coming out soon. We're gonna be interviewing athletes, a lot of social politicians. We're gonna be interviewing celebrities. It's gonna be fun from my point of view. I'm super excited about it. We got some content coming. I went back to school to take some courses when I retired, which I'm super excited about. We took a few losses, which I'm super excited to share with you about. We're going through a journey. We reinventing ourselves to ourselves. Sometimes you can reinvent yourself to people, but to reinvent yourself to yourself multiple times, where you're like, wow, it's pretty impressive. It's just the curiosity takes you down a journey, and you're like, you know what, man, I'm curious about this, and I think I want to do it. And just go through these different phases in your life. And thanks to the NBA, I was able to do that because I bought myself time, so I actually have the time to really dig deep in other areas. Whereas if I wasn't, in the NBA, I probably would have had to spend that time on whatever job that was, 9 to 5, or an executive somewhere. Who knows? An architect. Maybe the biggest construction company in New York City. Maybe I would have built the biggest construction company in the history of New York City. It could be anything. But the curiosity, and reinventing yourself, and you can do it too, to yourself. Sometimes it's perfect timing. So we don't want to be naive. We will be empathetic. We'll stay vulnerable. We'll keep you in our thoughts. And make sure y'all tune in. We got the podcast coming, media and other things. And I'm going to see y'all soon. Metta World Peace. We out.